As we honor the City of Torrance's centennial, we continue our look at the people, places, and things that have played a key role in making Torrance what it is today. Former Mayor Dan Walker is one such individual who has definitely made his mark on the City of Torrance. Walker moved to Torrance in 1970, and within just a short time, he became involved in the Torrance Chamber of Commerce. In 1975, he was appointed to the Planning Commission, and this led to his first term on City Council in 1978. This first term would kick off 26 years of service, making him the longest-serving council member in Torrance history. His tenure culminated with his election as mayor in 2002. I'm Colleen Farrell. Thanks for joining us. As part of our centennial celebration, we've invited former Mayor Walker to join us today and share his perspective on some of the history he's witnessed in his years of service to the city. Former Mayor Dan Walker, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
I know you're no longer living here in the City of Torrance, but you spent many years living here. Take us back and share some perspective on what Torrance was like in the early years and how it's evolved.
Well, Torrance always was a great city. It still is. It was a little smaller population-wise, had a little less business, but it had people that cared. It had elected officials that cared, and was just a fine, and still is a fine community to live in.
Tell us what it looked like from a cultural and community perspective. It's changed quite a bit in that sense.
Actually, if you go back, you've got so many of the same people that are involved in the city working, the commissions. The city staff has had long tenured individuals. There's a smoothness in Torrance with the community, with the elected officials, with the city family, that you don't have in a lot of other communities, and that's one of the things that made and has made Torrance such a great place to live and work and to serve.
Now you moved here and it was 1970. Tell us about your early life before you came to Torrance and what you were doing before you moved here.
I was born and raised in Long Beach. One of the things I wanted to say was I was very, very fortunate to have wonderful, loving parents, a great sister. Went to the Long Beach schools, Jordan High School, Long Beach City College, graduated from Long Beach State. Worked my way through college as a lifeguard, and I wound up after college and after my service in the Fighting United States Coast Guard Reserve, I wound up living in San Francisco and working for Foster & Kleiser Outdoor Advertising Company. Then I wound up living in New York sometime later, and coming back from New York, I went back to work for Foster & Kleiser in their public relations department, and I represented I had about 20 cities to interact with. Torrance was one of the cities, and there was some billboard legislation that the City of Torrance had passed, and they were in the last 6 months of a 5-year abatement for Foster & Kleiser to take down all their billboards. And the company sent me into Torrance to attempt to work some accommodation out with the city. And so I got to know the city council members, and after a reasonable period of time, the city council asked me to draft a billboard ordinance. I won't go into all the details, so let's just say it passed the city council and allowed the outdoor advertising industry to remain in the community. And then they participated in the community with lots of things to the benefit of the citizenry. I left Foster & Kleiser and came to the Chamber of Commerce. And I walked in the door at the chamber and talked to the chamber manager about a job. And the chamber manager, his name was J. Walker Owens, he spent 3 hours trying to talk me into going to work as the assistant chamber manager and selling chamber memberships and interacting with the city council. I told him I thought after 3 hours, he talked me into it. I said, thanks, I'll do that. And then he smiled at me and said, well, there are another 7 or 8 people that have applied for the job, and we're going to have a meeting next week to discuss all the candidates, et cetera. And it's got to go to the board and the chamber board. And I smiled and said, okay. And went outside, picked up the telephone, and phoned 3 of my friends on the city council, and they promptly called the chamber manager and said what a wonderful thing it was that he was hiring Dan Walker, and especially with the chamber budget coming up for review by the city subsidy to the chamber at that time. And I started to work for the Chamber of Commerce. And one of the things I did was to go to all the city council meetings and just sit and watch on behalf of the chamber. And I did that, and it was a very rewarding experience. It taught me the workings of intergovernment very well, and so I then wound up one day sitting there at a council meeting, and a gentleman by the name of Dale Gastiger, who I would consider to be one of my mentors, if not the most important mentor in my life. He was being put out of business by the city council. He had the Rhodium Open Air Market up in North Torrance, and the business was being equated to the hog farms and that were abated in the community, and he took a real beating. And the bottom line to all of it was that somebody was trying to put him out of business. Somebody from another community was trying to put him out of business and buy his property. And I told him I could help him. I thought I'd sell him a higher chamber membership or something, increase his dues. But anyway, I went, and next thing I knew, I was asked to work for him too.
What was the business landscape like back then in early Torrance when you were here in the 70s?
Well, the J.C. Penney's and Sears and Roebuck were the important businesses. Mobil Oil, of course, was a monster entity in the community. Garrett Air Research, and the auto dealerships. George Whittlesey had the Toyota dealership. He was also president of the chamber at one time, and Torrance was very, very wise. Back before I had arrived, they made a concerted effort to go into the beach cities and basically raid all the car dealerships and move them all into Torrance. And you raised your head in the 60s and 70s, and all the car dealerships were located in Torrance, and all the tax revenue came to the city of Torrance from those auto sales. And that and the mall, the marriage of the malls, which is we'll talk about later, that gave Torrance the basis of being just the heart and might of the South Bay in business.
Now, what was it like to live here back at that time? There was a lot more open space. I know that there was a lot of farmland here at one time. What was it like? What did it look like back then? Well,
you had, as far as open space goes, the majority of the growth in the city took place in the 50s and early 60s. The Madrona Marsh encompassed a great deal of land, and the city wrestled with the development of that marshland into open space and parkland and the center that presently is there, and how it got that land and allowed the land around it to develop, thus getting it for no price. The city got the Madrona Marsh for nothing. And Ray Watt and a couple of other property owners were able to build condos on the balance of the property. It was a win-win situation. In fact, when people complain about high-density development in the city, that was a situation where the developer didn't use all of the density that he was allotted, and built a much fewer number of units than were allotted to him, and we got the Madrona Marsh.
What role did the council play during that battle over the land that Madrona Marsh is today?
We were the ones that controlled it and voted on it, put it together, and saw it through. It required the city council's support and our voting for it.
And when you look at that land today, when you drive by, does it give you sort of what sense does it give you of pride to know that you were part of that land being set aside?
I think I can look at 15 or 20 areas of the city and take a great deal of pride in it, and for the participation that I and my colleagues on the city council made.
What were some of the major platforms at that time for your campaign that you were running on?
Well, I was basically that business guy who was a PR guy, and with a chamber background and such, and my opponent had more of the homeowner association type support. I was supported by 3 of the council members, and there were some important issues coming up to be voted on. The most important one was actually one of my first votes on the city council. My first vote after I was elected to the council being, what color do we paint the fire hydrants? That was actually a vote on that. But we were looking at building a police.
I have to ask you what color you decided on. Obviously red.
Red.
Okay.
But the police building, the police headquarters, was inadequate. And there was a debate as to whether to build a new police headquarters or to remodel the present building. The Police Officers Association were siding with the remodeling and then asking to take some of the monies that would be saved by doing that and increasing the base salary of all the police officers. It was like 0.3%, some minuscule amount of money. And the council was divided 3-3, and both my opponent and I basically kept our mouth shut as to what we would be doing until one of us was elected. I was elected, and then I announced that I was in total support of building a new facility. I thought long-term it was in the best interest of the city. And it's worked out that way. We've got a great police headquarters building just across away from here. And it has stood the test of time. And all the police officers thanked me for it afterwards.
Now you mentioned, when we were talking about Madrona Marsh, and you mentioned that when you do drive around the city, you see things that you take pride in putting your stamp on. Can you talk about some of those things?
Oh gosh, Wilson Park and all that has been developed there over the years. The tree house at Wilson Park was probably the last thing I did as mayor. The Annenberg Foundation had built a tree house back where the Annenberg Foundation had wanted to build a tree house, and there was a company back in Vermont that built tree houses for handicapped kids. And they contacted me and said that in California they had decided that they wanted to put it in Torrance for a variety of reasons. And I thought it was just an absolutely marvelous thing to do. You get kids that have never, kids in wheelchairs that have never been in a tree and will never be able to get into a tree. And all of a sudden, here's a tree house that's built for them. And it was a big fight at the city council as to do it or not do it, and then where to locate it and everything else. And it wound up costing the Annenberg Foundation, spent probably $400,000 to build this tree house. but it was tremendously rewarding when you saw the kids in wheelchairs going up these ramps and participating in a park-like atmosphere. And hopefully the Annenberg Foundation's gone and built more, because it's something that you couldn't put one in every community, because there wouldn't be that much of a need, but at the same time, if you had half a dozen of them in LA County, it'd be a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the various parks. I take a great deal of pride. I just walking around, looking at buildings, and then you see these bronze plaques, and there's my name. Gosh, there's my name. And you think about all the people that you interacted with to achieve that development. The building we're in right now, Stan Remmelmeyer, one of my closest friends. Great memories of going back at a National League of Cities conference in Boston and having Stanley take Doug Brown, the council member, Bill Applegate, and myself. He walked us around Harvard and showed us where his dorm was and all these other things. It was just wonderful memories with wonderful people.
Now, in 1980, the federal government was demanding that the city provide sites for subsidized housing, and this became a heated topic in the election. Why was this such a heated issue here, and what was the outcome of that?
Well, there were two things. Number one, it was heated because the council was, again, very much divided. It was divided 4-3 in favor of allowing those sites to be named for the federal government, and thus continuing the federal government's doling out of community development block grant funds to our city. I, along with two other council members, were adamantly opposed to this. And the community was equally opposed to it. You take two of the most popular people that the city's ever had, Katie Geisert and Jim Armstrong, both mayors of the community, mayors of the city. They were both under recall, and it was a serious threat of a recall. And the fourth member, Doug Brown, was under recall, and one other person, Don Wilson, was running for city council and thus could not be recalled. Time-wise, it wasn't legal to attempt to recall him. When the election in 1980 took place, I wound up coming in number 1, should have come in number 3. And Don Wilson, who was one of the most popular people in the city and just a wonderful, wonderful human being, and who I campaigned for, as well as the other two individuals that weren't being under recall. We all, campaigned for Don, and he came in a distant third in that race. And that just showed everybody that the citizenry was very, very serious about this. And it didn't take but 20 minutes into the next city council meeting before everybody changed their mind, and we rejected the community development block grant funds and told the federal government no, in no uncertain terms. And it cost the city of Torrance a couple of $1 million a year, but we didn't have some of the massive problems that these types of housing developments have incurred elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. And how did that sort of shape the landscape of what Torrance ultimately has developed into?
Well, it was a great lesson. At the same time, a guy by the name of Tom Hayden put together a rent control issue in Santa Monica, and that was passed in Santa Monica, and then they were going to come to Torrance, and they had a secret meeting in Redondo Beach, and they started counting noses, Democrats, Republicans on the council, which really in most instances has nothing to do with anything. And Mr. Hayden had put together a couple of 2 or 3 busloads of people that were going to come down to the council meeting and under orals speak in favor of rent control and force this through, and they had it all planned out. And we, as a city, just when it came time for orals at the council meeting, I, along with several of my colleagues, just basically said that we welcome Mr. Hayden to come into our community. We welcome him giving us his opinion on rent control, and we allow everybody to speak, and all the people he brings will be allowed to speak, and then we're simply going to vote against him. And we just did that in public. Nowadays, we wouldn't be able to legally do that because you can't voice that much of an opinion on an issue prior to a public hearing on it. But in those days, it was a little different. We just told him, show up and you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. And he never showed up. The entire thing was scratched. And we started looking at the number of apartments that we had in the city of Torrance and the percentage of apartment dwellers as opposed to homeowners. And from that point forward, the only apartments that have ever been built in Torrance have been senior developments. We've never just let somebody come in and build an apartment complex for rent. We've always felt, and I always commented, that what you wanted was pride of ownership, and that pride of ownership comes from owning that house, owning that condominium, and it can't be replaced by renting.
Now, ironically, development was a big issue in your final run for re-election. So how did that come into play? It sounds like you had you really shaped the landscape with development. How did that come into play with that final election?
At that time, at that moment, everybody said no more development. We have enough. We've got too much traffic. We've got too much this, too much that. The traffic was a product of more the communities around us than what we were developing here, number one. And it was very interesting that a lot of people at the time that they were screaming about no more development, no more development, had exactly the same voting record that I did. They just forgot votes that they had or said they voted against things that they voted for. And I let it slide and didn't bother to correct anybody. And yeah, it just worked out that way. And no one ever likes to lose their last election. But at the same time, my wife of 30 years, my late wife, passed away just a matter of months after that election. And it just changed my attitude towards a great many things. And so my losing was probably, for me, probably the best thing that could have happened, because my heart wouldn't have been in it, I don't think. And my life has gone in a good direction since then. And I get to go out and visit that frog out in Miramar Park and look out over the ocean. The frog was...
Yeah, tell us about the frog. I know that was an interesting contribution to the city.
Well, my wife, one day in Carmel, we were just on a little vacation, and she came back and was talking about this frog she had seen. I think about a little frog and just, okay, great. Well, it was a 4-foot-high bronze, 300-pound frog. And she loved it, so we got it. And we put it out in front of our house in Torrance. So when you looked out the living room window, you saw this frog amongst all the foliage that we had planted. Blocked the view of the telephone pole across the street. Expensive blocking. But she loved that frog. And when she passed away, I tried to think of something that I could do symbolically. And I had her ashes, I spread her ashes in the ocean off of Torrance Beach. And when I sold my house, I just decided to donate the frog to the city. And the council was gracious enough, number one, to accept it, and number two, to place it in a prominent spot at Miramar Park, which overlooks where her ashes are in the ocean. And gosh, before this taping, I went out there and went over the frog, and sure enough, there was a young mother with her 2-year-old child playing with the frog and scampering all over it. She was holding him, of course, but the kid was froggy, froggy. It was a beautiful thing to see, and people enjoy it. People enjoy it. A friend of mine built a beautiful base, and I had a little plaque put in front that says, "Dreaming of the Kiss, dedicated to the City of Torrance in memory of Sandy Walker, who spent her life giving to others, 1942 to 2006.
And how long were you married?
30 years.
30 years, long time. I do want to talk about the Del Amo Mall, and you sort of witnessed, talking about marriage, the marriage of the malls. Tell me about that development that you've witnessed. It's grown immensely in size to become what it is today.
Well, Gil Glazer had the foresight to put together both pieces of property. The mall that was existing that had Sears and Roebuck and J.C. Penney's as the anchor, and on the other side he built Robinson's and Montgomery Ward as that mall. And then years later he looked to join the two together with a bridge over Del Amo Boulevard, over Carson Street, pardon me, and building a parking structure for the replacement of Robinson's. I guess it was, I can't even remember the names of the stores. It was Buffum's. And
Bullock's?
Bullock's, pardon me. It was Bullock's. Robinson's was to come in. They were to have a new parking structure as part of that development, and the two malls would go together. And it was interesting because it was a good idea, but Gil was having a problem with Great Lakes Properties, who had been in business with him, over a water flood project that was to be located on the corner of Torrance and Madrona. And Gil didn't want the water flood project in, and the water flood project and Great Lakes Properties, this was the Kennedy family, by the way, didn't want Gil to get his marriage to the malls. And so it went back and forth, and it wasn't going to go anywhere, or wasn't going anywhere. And so one night, it was for discussion from the council, and I simply asked that the council look into the safety of parking structures, and asked them to specifically look at the Fox Hills Mall and their parking structure for safety issues, knowing darn well that somebody had been shot and killed there a couple of weeks prior. Gil Glazer called Great Lakes Properties the next day and said, I won't bother with you if you don't bother with me. And everything went through after that. They stopped fighting.
Okay. So when you look at the mall today, I mean, it's such a huge part of the city. It's centrally located in the city. Do you think, what impact do you think that has had in our city's development?
Oh, the marriage of the malls gave legitimacy to Torrance as the business foundation of the South Bay. We went from this city in the South Bay to having the largest enclosed shopping mall in the world.
Right.
Torrance, the largest enclosed shopping mall in the world.
Guinness Book of World Records.
At the time.
Yeah.
At the time. then that's without ice rinks, golf courses, and all that other stuff that they put into pad square footage on these places nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an interesting thing that led to a lot of.
Put Torrance on the map.
It did put Torrance on the map. It put it in the as it just gave legitimacy to the city being the business heart of the South Bay.
Mm-hmm. Another big issue I want to talk about is the heated debate over one of the city's largest companies and a situation that evolved there. I believe that was in 1988. So would you talk about that a little bit?
9 television interviews in one day, the day of the election. It was something else. A member of the fire department, who's since passed away, described to me one day going to a fire at the refinery, and a couple of refinery workers laying on the ground with their clothing burnt off of them, asking him if he was going to die, if they were going to die. And it had a great impact on him. And when he recounted that to me, it had a great impact. And then a study was done by Mobil and various companies on the safety of hydrofluoric acid, which was the catalyst for the refining process in Torrance.
Uh-huh.
And it showed a hellacious danger. This stuff, if released into the air, wouldn't disperse. It would go along with the wind. It could kill you 5 miles away. And it was frightening. And nobody wanted to do anything about it. And I was asked by a reporter in the Los Angeles Times to do something about it. And at the time I had a campaign war chest, so I had the ability to financially do something. And I looked into it and wound up putting together an initiative. I wasn't going to get any support from my council colleagues for a variety of reasons that I won't go into, but the bottom line was I thought it needed to be done. I spent $60,000 to qualify the initiative. Everybody got a mail piece, and you basically filled that out in a couple of spots, mailed it in, and that was the initiative. And it was amazing, the community response. So I spent $60,000 doing that. I had another $60,000 in my campaign coffers, and this went to the election process. Little city council election in 88. And I wound up spending my $60,000, and Mobil wound up spending $2 million on a little Torrance City Council election. I got creamed. The initiative lost. But after the vote was in, one of the comments of one of the members of the council was that they better do something about Mobil Oil now, because it looked like they were bought and paid for by Mobil. And so the council unanimously, myself included, went to litigation with Mobil Oil, and the city wound up spending a couple of $1 million to achieve what the initiative would have. Mm-hmm. And a while later, the Mobil signed a consent decree and spent what I'm told is roughly $1 billion with a B dollars in modifying the hydrogen fluoride aspect of the refinery, and just went in and upgraded all of its safety practices, and was the kind of corporate citizen that everyone in the city and everyone on the council
Right.
wanted them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my licking, but I'm very, very pleased the way it worked out. And refineries will never be safe, but this one is as safe as we can make it.
You
And
definitely be
that's
proud of
all.
that.
That's all an elected official can do is
Mhm.
try to achieve that.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear some more of the key votes that former Mayor Walker weighed in on while on the council and serving as mayor. Stay with us.
In 1977, in Johannesburg, South Africa, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. By the age of 9, he was already out playing him. The odds of this gentle lad winning the Junior World Golf Championships at the age of 14, 1 in 16 million. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours, 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the Open Championship once and the US Open Championship twice, 1 in 780 million. The odds of this professional golfer having a child diagnosed with autism, 1 in 110. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Welcome back. As part of the city's Centennial celebration, we're getting a first-hand account from former Mayor Dan Walker on some of the historic milestones he witnessed during his 26 years on the city council. Dan, tell me more about some of the key votes that you weighed in on when you were on the council.
Oh gosh, we basically, as a community, did almost everything. It wasn't just the expanding and combining of the malls. It wasn't just the making the refinery safer. It wasn't the individual developments that took place in the city. We had an attitude in the community to just make Torrance as good a place to live and work as anyone could possibly find. And all of our votes worked to that end. Money's spent in parks, money's spent improving streets, money's spent helping various groups, money's spent helping the schools. We, over the years, had a council that, and had I guess I've served on, 8 or 9 different councils with different makeups on the councils, but each and every one just worked for the best interest of the community. And if it worked for the community, then we support it.
Is there anything, looking back now, that you would do differently than you did when you were knowing what you know today?
I voted against the Salvation Army, and because of a very prominent individual in the community she had done wonderful things and made all the sense in the world, and I listened to her arguments and I supported her, and then afterwards I said to myself, why the hell did I do that? That was dumb. And fortunately the city council overruled the council, and that was that. When I left office, I basically stood there and said that I wouldn't have changed very much. I can't imagine changing almost anything. I liked over the years the people I worked with. You don't have to agree with people politically to like them. You don't have to agree with them politically to respect them. And I think the one thing that the City of Torrance has had through its entire history, from the time I arrived in Torrance and saw my first council meeting until I left, was an understanding that we all were doing our best to look out for the best interests of the community. And it's very seldom, if ever, that anyone questioned anyone's motives for anything. You made your comments, you cast your votes, and you moved on. And I look at all that's happening today, and of course this is for posterity, so to speak. But at this juncture, we look at communities in LA County, Southern California, that has their elected officials under indictments, the city staff under indictment for loads of things, and never happened here.
You worked with a number of the distinguished players in Torrance's middle history, if you will. Al Eisen, Ken Miller, Jim Armstrong. Did you have any mentors that sort of shaped your leadership skills and strategy?
Well, the skills would be questioned, but the mentoring. I had two people in Torrance that helped me tremendously. You first look to your own family, and my own father and mother for all the guidance and all that they did. And then I looked to Dale Gastiger, the late Dale Gastiger, who owned Pioneer Theaters. And he was probably one of the few people I've ever known who put people ahead of money. A businessman, he would lose money. He would do various things that weren't sound business decisions, but were great people decisions. And it was a wonderful thing to see, and he was a wonderful person to know. Stan Rimmelmeyer, the city attorney of 33 years. What a wonderful friend. I'd go off and do something, and especially on the planning commission, I kept an adult bookstore from coming into Torrance. I wound up taking the guy that wanted to build it. He was a LA police officer, retired, and he had a lease on a piece of property in Torrance, and it was all set to go, and we didn't have any legal right to stop him. And he came to the planning commission and basically said that, and his attorney said that. And I took him out afterwards. I took him to lunch the next day. I paid, and convinced him to locate across the street outside of the city of Torrance. And the screaming and shouting from the property owner, who had just lost the lease with this guy, was very, very loud, and those on the city council who hadn't supported me in various things screamed very, very loud also. And Stanley wrote me a nice note, and he said, thanks for what you did. You took a lot of hits last night at the council meeting. But the end result was that that adult bookstore didn't locate in Torrance, and the city of Torrance avoided a legal confrontation that we would not have won. Mm-hmm. And that was Stanley. And from that time through my tenure on the council until Stan retired, anytime anything came up that I had all questioned, I'd be in his office and I'd lay it out to him. And he'd tell me the right legal direction to go in. And he was just a great, great friend. Mm. Dr. Don Wilson was a member of the city council when I came to Torrance. He was a dean of teacher education at USC. He was an ordained minister who later married Sandy and I. Just a wonderful, wonderful human being. Great councilman, coastal commission member. He left the council. I talked him into running for city clerk for a variety of reasons. Actually, Katie Geisert and I talked him into it. And he was our city clerk until he passed away with cancer. But just a wonderful, wonderful person. Those are three guys. I would have breakfast every morning at Buffy's with a group of people. This went on for 15 or 20 years. And George Post, who I awarded the Jared Sidney Torrance Award for, or two, was there. We would have breakfast every morning. Here's a banker from a banking family. Just loved this city. He spent every moment here, with the exception of the time he was in a bomber in World War II. He loved the community, and you'd walk into his bank, you needed something, he'd say, sign this. You'd sign basically a blank piece of paper, and the money would be in your account, and bankers don't work that way anymore.
Wow, right.
But just, surprised you'd find out what the interest rate was on the loan 3 weeks later when it arrived in the mail. But just an absolute wonderful human being. Lived in the same house next to Ken Miller, former mayor. They loved the community. They wanted nothing more than to live in Torrance and see it prosper.
If you were to describe Torrance, the essence of Torrance, to someone who's never set foot in the city, how would you describe that?
We're a very nice, how do you say middle class without sounding one way or another on it? We're a nice community made up of hardworking people that is demographically mixed. And we have a strong sense of support for parks, police, fire. We're all that a community could be. One interesting thing, I've always done a lot of traveling. And the one thing, when you ask me to describe Torrance, you could be asking an elected official of almost any community to describe their community. Because the one thing you learn when you're an elected official is how all the communities, all the cities, basically have the same problem to one degree or another. I remember my first National League of Cities conference, it was in New Orleans. And I was sitting at a restaurant, one of the places where you go in and they take 10 people and they sit you all down at the table and you all eat together. Paul Bourdon's, it was a great Cajun restaurant. And I was sitting with a bunch of elected officials from, I think it was South Carolina, and they had parishes. And we were talking about various problems. And I was describing the Madrona Marsh and trying to work out something so we could acquire the marsh, satisfy that group of people, yet work something out with the people that own the property to satisfy their needs and not make it overly gigantic, which had nothing to do with the marsh or that area. And they started discussing with me their sand dune problem. Same exact thing. Same thing. Every community has the same set of issues that they're constantly facing. And every person on those city councils and every member of that community, they look to their own city with a great deal of pride. And all I can say is I'm very, very proud to have spent the time that I had in Torrance to be able to serve the community. I look back, I'm a few days away from 70 now, and here's a kid that comes out of the Long Beach City College, Long Beach State College, and I've had the opportunity of meeting 3 presidents, been to the White House, done all that kind of thing, sat through lots of different bits of political intrigue over the years, and it was all because of my involvement in this city, and I would strongly suggest to anyone to go out and find yourself involved, get involved. City commissions, support groups, charities. My late wife was very much involved, and she spent her entire life in charitable work. I'm blessed that not only was I married to a wonderful woman for 30 years, but recently, the last couple of years, I found my high school sweetheart that I hadn't seen in 47 years, and we got married. And I have the benefit of have met and married 2 wonderful women that have very much enriched my life. And you look at that enrichment and the work done in the community to try to help people, and it gives me a great deal of pride. I think back, what do I remember most? I remember sitting and reading to kindergarten kids, first graders, the 3 dinosaurs, the picture book and all that. Look forward to that. That type of thing, helping out with various charities, especially the charities that help with kids. Politics is very fleeting. Importance is very fleeting. You just do the best you can, and that way you have no regrets. You congratulate the people that win, and you move on. And you find out how important some issues are, family, friends, and how unimportant some issues are. And politics gives you a certain amount of humility, but that only comes after you leave office and after you have an opportunity, as we are today, looking back.
I know the City of Torrance has been involved for a very long time in creating a rose float for the parade. And I want to talk about your, right after 9/11, you got involved in making your business to see who was going to be on that float that was honoring America. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That was probably one of my more enjoyable moments, and it carries forward to today, because when we look at the Armed Forces Day Parade in Torrance, we have cars for our prisoners of war. And I was mayor, and I was thinking about riding on the float, and you donate $1,000 to the Rose Float Association, and there are 8 or 10 people on the float, so the association gets $8,000 or $10,000 to help defer their costs, which is the right way of doing it. And they hadn't settled on anything at that juncture, but it was going to have a patriotic theme. And so I contacted some people. And I said, "Okay, I'll cover the monies, and I want to put our POWs there." I didn't know whether we had 3 Ernie Zamperini or 10, but the end result was we had several from World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and it was probably the proudest moment I had, was to be able to say, okay, everybody that was thinking about riding on the float, next year, now we're going to do it this way this year. We were I think, the second float in the parade, and we had the police officer who sang, was it God Bless America in New York, asked to ride on the float, and he sat next to me, and he was singing the song. It was taped and he was mouthing it, but it was magnificent.
You can really see the emotion in their faces too.
Yeah,
the veterans.
The entire way. And I had, there was one Vietnam veteran, his wife came up to me afterwards and she said that her husband has never recovered from what had occurred there until we asked him to ride on that float.
Wow.
And until he experienced the love that these people felt.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just it was a good thing that I'm very, very proud to have thought it up and done it.
Well, we wanted to get your thoughts today because it is the city centennial, and in honor of that, I was wondering if you had any special thoughts or wishes that you'd like to share with the city and the residents here in Torrance in honor of the centennial.
Well, I just, for my small part and my years in Torrance, going back, I just want to thank the people of the City of Torrance for giving me the honor of being able to serve in the community and play a part in the community. It was rewarding in every way to me. I'd like to think that when all is said and done, all the people that you got along with and the ones you didn't get along with, you make peace with. And I know that several people have we made our peace right at the end, and sometimes that's too late. Or it's not too late, but sometimes you wish you would have done it earlier. Torrance is a great place. Everybody should look to the people of the city family, the guy that drives the bus, the guy that rides the lawnmower in the park, the guy that sweeps the street, the animal control people, the people that make the commissions work, all the staff. They're there to make this a great place to live and work. And I'm glad to say that I played a small part in that. And I know that this city is going to be here 100 years from now, and somebody's going to be doing this all over again.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your perspective with us. We really appreciate it as we honor the centennial. And on behalf of the residents here, thank you for your commitment and contributions to the city. And thank you for tuning in to this special edition of our centennial programming. And please continue to tune in throughout the year as we get up close and personal with the people, places, and things that continue to shape the direction of our city.